We are now joined by Paul Stone. We are going to be talking precious metals. This is an arena you've been in for some time. We've seen silver explode recently. We've seen gold really go to all-time highs under the Biden administration. There seems to be more of, I would say, economic confidence going on, not just in the United States, but globally, since Trump has won the presidency and now been sworn in. We've seen huge sways in the crypto markets, the technology space, Wall Street, etc. Where are precious metals going, and what do you expect them to do in this administration?
The beauty about my experience anyway with precious metals is that gold and silver is always doing what it's supposed to be doing. That's the beauty of it. So if you have falsehood in your finances, gold and silver goes higher. If your finances are full of wholesome truths and principles and reality, then you don't need gold and silver. It's not doing much. Maybe it's creeping higher a little bit each decade and it's hardly noticeable. So the one thing in the brief time that we have together today that I would ask folks to pay attention to is, can Trump stop the bills from coming? Look, I voted for him with both hands, right? And I encourage people, even if they weren't regularly voting for the R candidate, they were voting for the Democrat, the D candidate, to just really look at what this election was about. It was about the country. It was about us. There was finally someone who was actually talking about making things better for us. But when it comes to money and gold and silver, if you're printing money, then one day you're really going to be living in a world where you wished you had gold and silver, because the money will end up dead. So what I mean by Trump being able to stop the bills from coming, you can't. Because it started in 1997 when the baby boomers retired. When you have 70 million people retire from your workforce and go on the cost side, you've got massive problems forever. You're never going to get out of that issue, that deficiency, if you will. The $36 trillion in debt, stop calling it debt. Call it the amount of money our economy did not produce meeting its costs, meaning the production level was here and costs were here. And here's the last little piece. When the government prints to pay its bills, it causes costs to go higher. So it prints more and the costs go higher, and prints more and the costs go higher. Eventually, and the dollar today is only worth 3 cents. So the buying power of the dollar, if it was a purity, it was once worth 100 cents. Today it's very impure. It's only worth 3 cents. From the printing, the artificial creation of money onto an Excel spreadsheet, and out in the world it goes. So eventually the dollar's worth 1 penny, half a penny, a tenth of a penny, a hundredth of a penny. They mechanically can and mathematically can print money forever, and the dollar could be worth a thousandth of a penny. But you would be paying $1,000 for a Starbucks. And so in that world that we're headed to, I know everyone's smart and brilliant, mostly when we think about financial leaders or Donald Trump, but this is the one thing no one's getting. You stop printing the money, you'll already wished you were in precious metals, because the correction happens back to reality. Very painful, but we could manage it. We could oversee it. We could preside over that bust. Or you print until it busts, and then no one's really prepared for it, except for listeners to shows like yours, bud. So precious metals are always going to do what they're supposed to be doing. And if they're going higher, then that's just confirming for you the issues are not going away, they're getting worse.
So, I own physical silver. It's in my weight class, if you will. And I like the 1 ounce coins. The last time I checked, and I think it was last week, somewhere around $30. I've seen it dip as low as 12. But when we talk about printing money, we never printed more than during the COVID 1984 nightmare. And we also had this massive shift in wealth away from the middle class, the lower middle class, etc., that, was an acceleration that I don't think most people really grasp. And in short order after that, we were also succumbed to inflation. Now, I want to believe Donnie T is going to be able to bring that down. But I'm still getting hammered, not only on eggs, but on gas, on my electric bill, etc., in comparison to where we were prior to the COVID 1984 nightmare. Now, also in comparison, you did see the price of those precious metals explode to where they were prior to that. With Trump talking tariffs, even hinting at a restructuring of the IRS, I thought it was all talk. But boy, he keeps talking about it. I'm not saying we're getting rid of the federal income tax, but I wouldn't be opposed. What does that mean for a hard asset class like precious metals?
Well, again, since gold and silver is not man-made, there's 21 million Bitcoin, so it's limited, but can't there be 42 million? And you can jump up and down and scream and yell at me all you want that there'll never be 42 million Bitcoin, and I won't believe you because some man made Bitcoin. Some man or woman made it in a computer, so I know there's a possibility of it growing, which would then dilute the value of the people already in Bitcoin. That's what's happening to the dollar. So gold and silver is a truly trapped asset. It truly can't handle the demand when it comes. And in the scale of, if you want a comparable, the gold and silver marketplace, and from what I've studied, and I'm not a financial advisor or a trained economist, but I've studied the hell out of this for way over 10 years, 15, 16 years now. And there's about the precious metals marketplace around the world is about a $4 trillion marketplace. And currently the stock market's worth almost 60 trillion, I'm sorry. So $60 trillion in the markets, in the US markets, 4 trillion in gold and silver around the world. So you can see if just 10% of the stock market money, not saying anyone should sell, not giving anyone advice on what they should do, just giving a mathematical exercise. If $6 trillion ran away from one place and ran into a $4 trillion marketplace, you would cause gold and silver prices to rotate 2, 3, 4, 500 times, 500%. So it's easy to understand that the growth in gold and silver comes because money gets scared about where it once was and it's looking for safety and security. And that's the confirmation agent, certainly gold, and you own silver. Silver does have a track record of going higher during the crisis. But gold price rising is that confirmation agent that you're continuing to head into deep, dark waters and insolvency at one point, financially speaking. And if you're in gold and silver before that happens, historically, you've preserved your wealth. And you have a heck of a chance of growing it while everyone else is crying a river of woe because they didn't do anything about it early enough.
You just kind of mentioned Wall Street and the stock markets. And we just saw an earthquake in the markets regarding NVIDIA, artificial intelligence in general, with China releasing DeepSeek. And actually, Trump has now made commentary on this, basically saying it should be a wake-up call to American companies. But at the same time, if we're about to get AI that is better and cheaper and uses less energy, this is an overall positive moving the market forward. I actually do agree with this. At the same time, the Zuck just announced this week that they're going to be building an information data center basically the size of much of Lower Manhattan in Louisiana. These graphics cards, these chips, you talk about precious metals, gold is integral in these, and we're going to be manufacturing them at a huge level. Do you think that is also going to have an impact on the price of gold? And then in general, what do you think AI is going to do to that market?
So let's say you run a big business, you yourself, you're the CEO of a giant business, 50,000 employees, 100,000 employees. What's your just take a guess generally, what do you think your number one cost is?
Geez, I would say it's energy, actually.
Or labor?
Yeah. Well, depending on what I'm paying them at this point.
Okay, but they're working here in America. So let's say you own 20 McDonald's. What do you think your number one cost is?
It would
probably
be
the employees. Yeah. It's top 1, 2, or 3.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you could get rid of them?
No, I get it. Automation is on the way, sir.
Well, it's been on the way a long time. So there's a website that's run by a great economist named John Williams, and he shows the old-fashioned ways of counting unemployment and inflation. The old-fashioned way, not the archaic, obsolete way, just the true way that unemployment was counted in this country for well over 100 years until it became a podium number and was messed around with, is 25% unemployment here in America. 25%. Now, doesn't that match up with how much money they need to print to get our bills paid, that we lose all that production? Now, this isn't retired people, 25% unemployed, people that want to be working. So automation is already replacing jobs, or they're already going overseas. So job replacement here has actually been the thing that helps, it seems, to be what causes Wall Street to enrich itself. And that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to cut costs and increase revenue as best it can. So if AI can come and literally replace all the fast food workers, all the delivery truck people, anything that you can mostly automate, a very routine job, customer service reps, all that stuff, then eventually you have more consumers that don't earn any money, that have to eat or they die, so the government has to print more to support them. You grow the government and you kill the workforce.
Well,
And
that's why I think
extremely
we
good for
really
Golden
do
Silver.
need to start restricting this government. I don't know what hopes I have for Doge or Elon Musk, but again, people can get involved in precious metals right now by going to kernelmetalsgroup.com. That's kernelmetalsgroup.com. Paul, we have run out of time. I want to thank you so much for joining